I have never seen Star Wars, but I've watched Family Guy Blue Harvest a bajillion times. Parody is a lost art. Its place in our pop culture is actually quite similar to Family Guy itself. Sure, they're still making them, but who gives a crap? There was a time when the parody was unavoidable. On TV and movies, don't even get me started on the internet. Some of the most popular creators from the late 2000s and 2010s got their start making parody animations and sketches. Over time, however, once folks realized how easy it was to take an existing property, add a little edge to it, and rake in the views the genre began to get oversaturated. And by oversaturated, I mean it started to suck. Thousands and thousands of crappy parodies making the most obvious lame jokes and running them into the ground. Jokes that may have once been funny or considered new and inspiring were now lumped in with the rest of the crap, only really looked back on today for the sake of nostalgia. The act of making a parody has been mocked for so long that I'd argue even making a joke about how overdone they are has gotten old. You can only point out how lame lol Mario does the mushroom jokes are before you're only adding to the monotony. I think because of how parodies are currently looked at today, it's caused there to be a severe lack of appreciation for the genuinely great stuff that comes from the genre. And I don't think that's fair, because there has been a lot of fantastic parody out there. Maybe not high art or anything groundbreaking, but there definitely is a way to discern the good parody from the bad. The Naked Guns from the epic movies, the Not Another Teen movies from the disaster movies, the scary movies from the Scary Movie 5s. And when it comes to good parody, there's none which I think is a more perfect example than Family Guy Star Wars. But first, I wanted to tell you about today's sponsor, Fume. This video is sponsored by Fume. Obviously. Flavored air is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking, and at the forefront of it all, Fume. We all want to fit in, and a result of that can be picking up on bad habits like smoking or vaping. It's a good thing I got Fume to help me swap this habit with something else. There's no vapor, no nicotine, just flavor with none of the harmful chemicals. And even just as a great oral fixation device, it's amazing. Over 700,000 people have already switched to Fume as part of their habit-changing journey. So if you're ready to try it for yourself, now's the time. For a limited time, if you order the Journey Pack using my code LSMark, you'll get a free Fume Topper, an awesome accessory to level up your experience. So be sure to click the link tryfume.com/LSMark or scan the QR code on screen to get yours today. And thanks Fume for sponsoring this video. Back to it. Also, if you missed it, I'm now uploading my videos to Spotify in case you want to listen to them on the go. If any video in the future gets uploaded here with stupid video filters to avoid copyright, you should be able to find a clean version over there on Spotify. Back to it. For real. Now, Family Guy Star Wars might seem like a weird example to use as a case of good parody. I mean, sure, these episodes were insanely beloved at the time of release. It's also not to say there aren't better examples I could be using right now, like the Austin Powers movies or Spaceballs. But over time, I believe these three specials have started to become a tad forgotten, or at the very least less appreciated than they once were. That's for a variety of factors, of course, from Family Guy's drop-off in popularity in general, Star Wars no longer being nearly as culturally relevant as it once was, as well as it being one of the most overdone types of parody out there. I mean, Star Wars parodies were already overdone by the time this special came out, something the episode itself draws attention to.
Yeah, but didn't Robot Chicken already do this 3 months ago?
But there really is no underselling how huge these were at the time, especially that first one, coming out during Family Guy's arguable peak in popularity. It's kinda nostalgic in retrospect, to remember a time in which there was nothing funnier to folks than putting Peter Griffin in a Han Solo outfit. I mean, I fucking bonded with people over this thing. I remember being like 9 or 10 during a holiday in Spain with my family where I met this British kid who also loved Family Guy. And we would just sit in the lobby and watch Blue Harvest on his PSP over and over again. We thought this shit was the funniest fucking thing in the world. It's crazy to rewatch them in retrospect, as when going back, I really don't think they're all that funny anymore, but I can't help but recall how hilarious I used to think they were and smile. And that's definitely not to discredit these specials. In no way am I trying to say that these episodes were bad looking back, not at all. I still think they're great, well, the first two at least. But it's one of those things where when you've seen them enough times to quote the entire thing, there's not much reason to go back to them. But I still think they are a great example of good parody. I think maybe one of the main reasons why they aren't often looked at anymore comes down to the complete oversaturation of parody media. Coincidentally, the peak of Family Guy completely coincides with the downfall of the genre. It's often cited that parody films peaked during the 70s and 80s, an era ruled by a select few filmmakers such as David Zucker and Mel Brooks. This is where we got films such as Naked Gun, Blazing Saddles, Airplane, and Spaceballs. However, the genre saw itself in a bit of a slump during the early to mid-90s. Although that's not to say there were no releases that audiences enjoyed at the time, such as 91's Hot Shots starring Charlie Sheen Estevez. During the late 90s, though, we saw the genre continue to succeed with releases like Austin Powers and Scary Movie, which completely changed the game. These films, instead of directly paying homage and poking fun of cliches from the genres they were parodying, were now directly referencing specific films with as little subtlety as possible. With Scary Movie in particular, instead of directly paying homage and poking fun at cliches from the genre they were parodying, was now directly referencing specific films with as little subtlety as possible. Not exactly new for the genre, as again Spaceballs had already done this more direct parody a decade prior, but I'd argue films like Austin Powers and Scary Movie were some of the first to truly break out into the mainstream. Scary Movie more so. Austin Powers still shared a lot of DNA with those old parody films, mixed with the SNL type humor that came with a star like Mike Myers being involved. Whereas Scary Movie, and I mean this in the most positive way possible, but Scary Movie succeeded because it capitalized on dumb people. And hey, I'll raise my hand. I think Scary Movie's great. I'm not ashamed to admit it. You shouldn't be either. But there was a real art to those old Mel Brooks, David Zucker films. You could have a true appreciation towards the art of their stupidity. Whereas the Wayans Brothers' Scary Movie aims its sights as broad as possible. It's not only a parody of Scream, but the horror genre as a whole. Something everyone is familiar with. But if you're not into horror, doesn't matter because it's not actually scary. If anything, it might help you get into the genre at an entry level, not being too intense. But aside from horror, it also directly references pop culture from the time, celebrities, politics, and other movies entirely. It was much less subtle with its humor, most of the jokes in the franchise consisting of kids getting hit by cars and people pissing. And that's all a very long-winded way of saying that to me, in my mind, there's a pretty clear distinction from the Mel Brooks, David Zucker kinds of parody movie, and the Wayans Brothers' Scary Movie and the train wreck that subsequently followed its massive success. A series of films created by two of the writers for the original Scary Movie, Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer. These two were given the opportunity to create parody movie after parody movie, sticking from the writers of Scary Movie on every single one. And what they did with that would completely tarnish the reputation of the parody genre forever. They made shitty movies. Epic movie, disaster movie, date movie, vampires suck, meet the Spartans. All of these are some of the worst movies I've ever seen. And the Alvin and the Chipmunks and disaster movie scarred me for years as a kid, so I have a personal vendetta against that one in particular. But point is, these movies are horrible, and not because they're dumb, but because they're lazy. Instead of the humor coming from calling attention to tropes prevalent in these movies or using a reference as a jumping point for a stupid quick gag, the films became reliant on directly lifting things from other more popular films to stick on a poster. Whereas I'd argue any of the Scary Movies can be watched and enjoyed by someone who's never seen the films they're parodying, as a result of the parody not getting in the way of the near universally understood dumb joke. You could not sit down and even comprehend something like Epic Movie without having seen at least a dozen other films. I don't have to know what The Ring is to laugh at an evil girl coming out of the TV and having one of our main characters just start fistfighting her. But I do have to know about Cloverfield, High School Musical, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Sex and the City, Juno, Indiana Jones, The Avengers Kung Fu Panda, and I could go on to laugh at anything in Disaster Movie. And even then, if you do understand it, you still wouldn't be laughing because the jokes suck. Even the later Scary Movies like 3 and 4, while certainly nowhere near as good as the first two, were a whole lot better than what these bozos were pumping out. And at least the guy who wrote those also got to make Superhero Movie, which is genuinely great, I don't care what anyone says.
Rick! How did you do that?
It's easier than it looks.
These films made people associate dumb humor with lazy humor. And because these movies were easily the most successful and well-recognized parody movies during the 2000s, it caused the whole genre to suffer. And that all leads us to Family Guy's Blue Harvest. Yeah, that's what this video is about. This special came out right when the parody genre was starting to severely decline in popularity and quality. And so when confidence in this type of humor was at an all-time low, Family Guy Star Wars completely blew any and all expectations people could have had for it out of the water. What I've always appreciated about the Family Guy Star Wars specials is just how much their appreciation for those original movies shines through in the production. I mean, these look expensive. It's crazy how big they feel from all the new backgrounds and characters that needed designing. All for an hour-long special. The amount of CGI they had to incorporate. I mean, just look at that elephant. That shit cost 58 grand right there. In our current era of shows either being rigged or consisting of very stilted, cheap-looking frame-by-frame animation, it's crazy that something like this was able to be produced with a television budget in 2007. That's not to even mention the score, which is genuinely fantastic, combining all the leitmotifs of Star Wars with a hint of Family Guy's more jazzy flair. It's something truly epic. Only making it funnier when these familiar moments are undercut by something unexpected.
I love you.
Fuck off.
It's not just a celebration of Star Wars, but Family Guy as a whole too. It's fun to see which random secondary character they'll pull in when you're least expecting, even putting in a few American Dad and Cleveland Show characters by the last one. And I think these specials showcase more of Chris than the rest of Family Guy's episodes combined. Saying all that, it's hard not to deny that these things started to lose their steam as they went on. Still not bad at all, and the production quality in the first only goes up by the third. But in terms of the comedy, the most important aspect, there's certainly way less laughs to be had here. Something the writers themselves even admitted in the opening scroll segment, talking about how they were forced to do this one by the network and aren't proud of how it came out. Another joke? Possibly. But I don't know, I always got the hint of something genuine in that. It makes sense. You can only parody something so many times before the concept as a whole becomes tiring. The first Scary Movie was new and exciting. The fifth stars Ashley Tisdale. If video games were real, 1 is awesome. The seventh, not so much.
Oh, a 9'6" tall vampire lady. I hope she doesn't find me here in my hiding spot. I hope she doesn't find me and pay.
The joke is sex. At a certain point, you can read these parodies like a book, when the whole appeal of a parody should come from the unexpected and something familiar. To me, the perfect kind of dumb parody should come from a setup as simple as, hey, wouldn't it be funny if... That's why these stupid-ass jokes work so well. It's like when you're watching a movie with a friend and every now and then if something serious is about to happen, they undercut it with a gag. It catches you off guard, you can't help but laugh. You're in your car singing along with the radio. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if the singer interrupted to tell you to shut the fuck up? You're watching Peter Parker hide on the roof from Norman. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if he really had to pee right now and started just pissing from the ceiling? It's why I think Family Guy Star Wars works so well. It completely operates on this kind of humor. 2 members of the rebellion are walking towards their meeting. Hey, what if one was so immature that they just had to make sure they got there first?
Me first.
Isn't it funny that the Cantina Band are always playing the same song? Hey, what if that was on purpose?
If you have any requests, shout them out. Play that same song. All right, same song. Here we go.
It's dumb dude bro humor, but like, who cares? I think that should have a place in film and TV, even if it is stupid. I think people are finally starting to realize this, as the announcement of Scary Movie 6 has been met with wondrous applause. I just hope we don't have to once again remember that this genre died for a reason. Scary Movie 5 sucked! That series had grown old after so many entries. There was no longer anything surprising about a kid getting injured or the villain actually being an idiot because audiences had seen it repeated so many times. These movies never evolved or tried to do anything different. It's like my analogy from before. Having a friend chime in with a joke while you're watching a movie can be funny, but if they're doing it constantly throughout the entire film, it gets old, and you just really, really want that person to shut up. Sure, they'll get a winner once in a while, but eventually it just comes off like you're having to actively look for the joke, instead of having it be something quick and spontaneous. Hell, Disaster Movie was parodying movies that weren't even out yet. There was next to no source material to base your joke off, so all they can do is the most surface-level basic observation ever. At a certain point, the joke just starts to become about giving some unfunny commentary one of the Bozo brothers assumed would shock people, not understanding that they're only capable of making jokes a 7-year-old could come up with. Zac Efron's gay. LOL. Alvin and the Chipmunks have rabies? Indiana Jones is, okay, a little person? Ruffle. It's like Weird Al. Hot take alert, I guess. Everybody loves Weird Al. Weird Al's great. He's got tons of amazing parody songs. But who actually enjoys his later works where he's parodying fucking Poker Face? Oh my god, that was 15 years ago. Either way, it's completely carried by your nostalgia for the classics. Just like Scary Movie. The best kind of parody movie should come off like you're watching a film with your friends, cracking jokes at the most inopportune times and dying at the thought of it actually happening. Whereas the worst kind of parody comes off like you're stuck with that one annoying friend who can't shut the fuck up when watching anything, even though I wanted to show you this movie. Why are you choosing this time, Vol, to fucking do your stand-up show? You know who you are, and I think that's why the Family Guy Star Wars specials were so successful. even when they were running out of steam. Because Family Guy is a show that had already perfected its fast-paced, dumb humor, especially through the cutaway gags. The show was already more than used to doing parodies of genre tropes and pop culture, so what attempting to take that to the next level and translate this humor into something more long-form, using one of the most iconic franchises of all time as a bias, was a complete recipe for success. And while today it may seem easy to brush it off as lame, like a stupid Loot Crate parody shirt of Link holding a lightsaber, I still think there's a lot to admire about these three specials. So give them a watch if you haven't in a while. I think you'd be surprised at how well they hold up.